BlackRock, a seemingly innocuous name for a company, is a global investment management corporation. But don't let the benign title fool you. This entity is far from harmless. It's a titan, a behemoth, a leviathan in the world of finance. It manages an astronomical $7 trillion in assets. Yes, you heard that right, $7 trillion. That's 7 followed by 12 zeros. It's as if they're playing a never-ending game of Monopoly, and they're the ones holding all the hotels on Boardwalk and Park Place. This kind of financial power doesn't just buy you a fancy penthouse in Manhattan or a private island in the Caribbean. It buys you influence, control, and power on a global scale. It's like having the cheat codes to the world's economy. Now you might be thinking, well, that's just business, right? But here's a dark little joke for you. What's the difference between BlackRock and a vampire? Well, at least a vampire needs to be invited in before it starts sucking your blood. BlackRock, on the other hand, doesn't wait for an invitation. It's already there in the shadows, influencing policies and economies across the globe. So, we have a faceless giant with more wealth than most countries, quietly pulling the strings of world economics from behind the scenes. It's like we're living in a financial thriller, except there's no suave secret agent coming to save the day. But why should you care about this invisible giant? What if I told you that the invisible giant is not just a player but the puppeteer of governments? Imagine a world where the strings of power are pulled by a faceless entity hidden in the shadows, manipulating the dance of democracy like a master puppeteer. Well, you don't have to imagine. Welcome to the reality of BlackRock. As the largest asset manager globally, BlackRock holds sway over a staggering amount of wealth. With over $7 trillion under management, it's no surprise that governments around the world pay keen attention to its machinations. From economic policies to fiscal strategies, BlackRock's influence is insidious and far-reaching. Now you might think, but surely our elected leaders wouldn't dance to the tune of a corporate giant. Well, my friends, it's time for a reality check. Have you ever seen a puppet show? It's fascinating, isn't it? How the puppets move and dance seemingly of their own volition, but we all know who's pulling the strings. It's not much different in the world of politics. The puppets might change, but the puppeteer remains the same. Here's a little joke to lighten the mood. What do you call a politician who doesn't dance to BlackRock's tunes? Unemployed. A tad dark, I know, but sometimes the truth has a wicked sense of humor. BlackRock's influence permeates not just the economic sphere but the very fabric of our societal structure. It's not just about managing assets, it's about controlling narratives, shaping policies, and influencing decisions that affect billions of lives. It's a chilling thought, isn't it? A single entity, so powerful, so entrenched in the global power structure, that it can manipulate governments like marionettes on a string. But remember, even the most skilled puppeteer can only control the puppets, not the audience. So the puppeteer controls the stage, but what happens when it owns the theater? The terrifying reality is, this invisible giant is on a path to own the world. Imagine, if you will, a world where all the strings are pulled by a single entity. A world where every tick of the economic clock, every sway in the global market, is orchestrated by one puppet master. That's the world we're steadily moving towards with BlackRock at the helm. As the company continues to acquire assets globally, it's not merely gaining wealth, it's amassing power. Power that's unprecedented, unchallenged, and unchecked. This isn't just about money anymore, it's about control. Control over governments, over economies, over our lives. Now I know what you're thinking. Come on, it's not like they own everything, they don't own the air we breathe. Well, you'd be right. But let me tell you, if they figured out a way to monetize it, they'd have a patent on oxygen faster than you can say monopoly. Joking aside, the implications of one company wielding such power are far from funny. It's a threat to the balance of global power, to democracy, to free market capitalism. It's a threat to the very essence of human freedom. When one entity has the power to influence world governments and economies, it also has the power to shape our lives in ways we may not even realize. From the food we eat, to the jobs we have, to the homes we live in, everything could be influenced by a single invisible giant. This is the terrifying reality of a world owned by BlackRock, a world where the diversity of ownership, the balance of power, the freedom of choice, all are under threat. The question is, how did we let it get to this point? How did we let one company become so powerful? And more importantly, can we do anything about it? But is there a way to take back control? Yes, there is a resistance against the invisible giant, and you are a part of it. In the epic tale of David versus Goliath, it was the small shepherd boy who triumphed over the towering giant. Now, it's our turn to replicate that story, with BlackRock as our Goliath and us, the retail investors, as David. But instead of a slingshot and a few smooth stones, our weapons are diversification and informed choices. Diversification, the act of spreading our investments across a wide variety of sectors and assets, is a powerful tool. It's like the shepherd boy choosing not one but several stones. By not putting all our eggs in one basket, or in this case, not investing all our money in companies controlled by BlackRock, we reduce the risk and dilute the giant's influence. But diversification isn't enough. We also need to support regulatory changes. Governments around the world need to step up and keep a check on this behemoth. BlackRock's influence over world economies is like a spider web, intricate and far-reaching. Our governments need to wield the broom of regulation to keep this web from engulfing us all. Now here's a little joke to lighten the mood. Why did BlackRock refuse to play chess? Because it was scared of the pawn's potential to become a queen. Just like in chess, the smallest player can rise to become the most powerful piece on the board.